All right, so before we overcome the fear of falling in a handstand, we first have to understand what causes the fear of falling in a handstand. It might sound like a super simple question, but there are actually three main ingredients that stack on top of one another that contribute to our fear of falling. By understanding each of these levels, we can also address them at each one of these levels in the right order to most efficiently and effectively overcome this problem. The three ingredients that contribute to the fear of falling is number one, awareness, number two, strength, and number three, skill. Let's start with awareness. So unless you did this as a kid, or you did gymnastics, or you were upside down the trampoline a lot, chances are that going upside down for your body is something your body has never done. It's super disorienting, and your vestibular system, the system in your body that is required for telling your body where it is in space, the proprioception, is completely thrown off when you're first going upside down. Your body's like, where the fuck am I? What am I doing? And this is an incredibly not only disorienting feeling, but it also can cause some fear because your body doesn't know where it is in space, it doesn't know what's going to happen next, and it doesn't know how to create safety in that situation. Hence the fear. So the first adaptation we need to overcome the fear of falling is simply exposure to time being inverted. The more time we spend upside down, the more your body gets used to being in that position, and the less fear your body will feel. This simple exposure therapy. This happens to different people at different rates. Some will find that they overcome this in the first session. Others will find it might take them a week or maybe even two. But if the fear of falling is lasting for any longer than a couple of weeks, it's almost certainly because you haven't addressed numbers 2 or 3. Let's move on to strength. I want you to imagine that I give you a broomstick and I ask you to hold it up and balance it overhead. Chances are that for most people, that's not going to inspire any crazy fear in you because you're completely able to control that load overhead. Now I want you to imagine I give you a really heavy table and I ask you to balance that on both hands over your head. Let's say the table's 100 kilos. Now, unless you're really able to confidently control that weight, that's going to be a much scarier experience, especially if you didn't know how to drop that safely without it fucking crashing down on your body. This is exactly the same thing when I flip you upside down and I ask you to put your own body weight on your hands overhead. If you don't have the ability to produce enough force with your forearms, your triceps, your shoulders, your traps to control your body when you're upside down, you will feel more fear of falling. It's that simple. Because you're not sure when you're putting that load on your body and you're, let's say, walking in toward the chest to wall, every single time you go to take the other hand off, if you don't have the strength to hold yourself there, you don't know if you're going to be able to put the other hand back down. You don't know if your arms are going to give way and send you crashing face first into the floor. Fair enough if you feel some fear at the result of that. So in addition to building the awareness of being upside down, we also need to build the strength and the requisite muscles to hold our body weight confidently overhead. A great baseline to measure this against is 5 strict hollow body push-ups and a 60-second chest to wall handstand. Remember, we don't need to stop doing any balance work until we achieve these baselines, but you know if you fall short of those or you're still working up to those baselines, that you can confidently assume you will feel less fear of falling the more upper body strength you develop. If you're already able to do those things right now, then you can be confident that strength is probably not the thing it's holding you back, and you need to move on to the third piece and the final top piece of the puzzle, which is skill. If your body does not know what's going to happen when you fall out of a handstand, your body doesn't know if it's safe to fall out of a handstand. If your body doesn't know if it's safe or not to fall out of a handstand, it's going to do its best job possible to make sure that you don't get yourself into a position where you fall without control. So simply by practicing the skill of falling, once we have the requisite strength and the awareness to know where we are upside down, practicing the skill of falling will help you turn falling from an unpredictable outcome to an unconscious competence, where your body does the same thing every time and it knows how to control that fall down to the ground in a safe way. Simply by building up the skill of falling out from being upside down in progressively more and more inversion, progressively further and further away from the ground, we can help teach our body that it's not actually unsafe to fall out of a handstand because we've practiced the skill. It's important that we see these as layers kind of stacking on top of one another. Even if you have good upper body strength, without the awareness to know where you are in space, this is where I started. I'd been training for quite a while, but I didn't know where my body was upside down. So first going upside down and even walking up the wall felt really scary. But once you have the awareness and the exposure, you need to make sure that you can actually confidently hold your body weight when you're upside down. Once you have those two pieces in place, you can spend much more time practicing the skill of falling so that falling out of a handstand becomes second nature to you, automatic. Once you have all of these three pieces in place, you can confidently believe that you're no longer going to be scared of kicking up and falling out of a handstand. You can do it on demand whenever you want. And you can go back to safely spending most of your time locating that position of balance because you're no longer scared of being there.